shoes, you just, what, give him a discount on the shoes? He might be more important than I am. Wait a minute, we're an anime con. Raise your hand if you know who Peyton Manning is. Yeah, I thought so. Sorry, for some of us, the NFL lockout started last night at midnight, and the world has now ended for me. Because now I have nothing to do on weekends.
Except for this.
Do you see? Another day, another totally different look and outfit. The only thing that you recognize is the smile.
Incognito.
Sorry, I was going to say, friend of mine, but then I realized you wouldn't believe that I have any friends, but I know him.
I do. I showed your left hand.
This from the boy walking around with a doll that you didn't quite wipe off this morning. Look, part of the fun of my show is I absolutely love hecklers, but if you're going to say anything during my show, make sure you have a sense of humor because you're going to lose. I've been doing this for a long time, and my motto was based on a t-shirt from the 80s, you know, back when I had hair, that says, I refuse to lose a battle of wits to an unarmed opponent. And when I was in Texas in college, I was assigned to work at a rescue mission, and a prison chaplain was the guy that was like my boss. And his favorite saying was, "You're crippled too high for crutches." Which took me about a day to figure out. And I went, I get it! It's meant... Okay. That was the first thing he said to me. Going back to my room. Okay, now that I'm almost ready to start, you should talk about this, because all I'm going to do is make jokes and offend people.
You really want to arm me?
Yeah.
Let's no, I said talk. I didn't say anything about give you a weapon. Good grief. My suicidal. Arthur. Ninja Weapons of Death. That's the title of the panel because non-traditional weapons of feudal Japan just doesn't sound nearly as cool. We put ninja and weapon and death all in the same thing. And if I just would have said, naked girls, I would have...
You would have got more people.
Would have got more people. We should do a panel on...
It's why the Whose Boob Is It panel is popular. I mean, come on.
The what panel?
There's an anime con that we're looking through the schedule trying to find our panels, and they have, like, later at night they have the 18 and up panels, and one of them said, "Whose boob is it?" And I'm like, really? That's cool! Can we go to that panel? And she said, you're going to be really disappointed. And I'm like, I'm a guy. How could I be disappointed in a panel like that? And she goes, it's pictures of cartoon chests, and you have to guess which character it is. I'm like, pictures? That's okay. She goes, no, drawings. And I'm like, cartoon cleavage? This is the modern day. We have the internet. You can look at the real one. Not that not with our... Ninja Weapons of Death. What you have to understand now that we jump into the lecture in midstream, so just assume I was talking about Japanese history and culture.
Pretty accurate.
Feudal Japan. Very rigid caste system. Okay? The samurai were the nobility of Japanese culture, which means they controlled everything. They had access to better food, better women, always back to, no. Raw materials, and better weaponry. One of the things people have known since time began, that if you're in charge because you have the biggest stick, the best way to stay in charge is to make sure no one else can have a stick. So as weapons evolved, people in control of the populace made sure they had the best weapons because they could stay in charge. So the samurai, the nobility, passed laws that they were the only ones who could carry and use the long sword, the katana, or the wakizashi. It was a little fuzzy on the tanto, the knife, because everybody had knives for working things, but differentially heat treated and able to actually sever limbs and stuff. That was a little bit better. But what that meant was, if you were not the nobility, and you still had to protect yourself, because sometimes the people in charge don't protect the little people the way they're supposed to, and it was important for them to be able to protect themselves. So what they did is they adapted weapons that were not originally intended to be used for combat. self-defense. We're going to start with one that everybody recognizes for two reasons. One, Ninja Turtles, because this is Raphael's weapon. And if you watch the cartoon, Raph's pretty cool. If you watch the first 3 movies, Raph is awesome, because in the first movie, which we took our children to when they were like 3, because it's Ninja Turtles, he didn't have a line for the first 45 minutes. He said one word. Said it 3 times in 45 minutes, but yeah. We're watching this little kid's movie, and there's Raph having a little turtle tantrum. Damn! That was his line. So right away, we started a new game where you name, if you watch a movie that has a cast of, several people, you assign characters to real people you know. And as soon as we saw the first Ninja Turtles movie, we assigned Raph to be her character, because she seems nice and friendly and smiley, but that's kind of how she is around the house in the mornings. And by morning, I mean up until about 3 p.m. when she wakes up. Swear, stay out of her way, turtle tantrum, things get broken, like my nose. But Raph uses the scythe. This was originally a farming implement. Looks a little overdone, but they used to plant rice. And in America, you see us sowing seeds, and we're just kind of flinging them all over the ground. Very careful. They actually use these to poke holes in the ground to plant individual rice seeds. I don't know if you've ever seen on the internet, they have those patterns of the pictures where you see these huge mosaic pictures that are ridiculously cool that they use by planting different colored rice. Anyway, they're very specific about this got poked in the ground, you put that in, you could dig furrows in the ground to garden. This did not make a very good weapon, and I know you do kabuto weaponry and you get to do little forms with it, and you get to spin it back and forth, and you reverse it like this, and you go wah, and bring it back, and then turn it. And if you watch Daredevil, go Elektra. That would be our second reason for liking the scythe, because Elektra looks much better in red leather than Raphael would. So, big Elektra fan. Own Daredevil, actually own Elektra. I don't think we've ever watched the whole movie, but she's so cute. When you watch Daredevil and she's working out in the house to evanescence, and she's spinning and goes zing like this, and takes the sandbag and cuts it in half, I have news for you. These aren't sharp. Okay? The scythe was not an edged weapon. It was a farm implement designed to poke holes in the ground. Putting edge on it like a knife, totally different. This did not make a very effective hand-to-hand weapon. When you watch it, one of the things they'll tell you is, you catch sword blades here and twist them so you break the sword. If you can snap a sword blade with one of these, you bought the wrong sword. Okay? Anybody see the QVC Shop at Home Network? This video is still floating around on the internet, even though it's about 6 years old. The live, you know what I'm talking about, QVC Shop at Home Network? Okay. Live show. They're hawking cheap sword blades. The guy is hitting the katana on the table, saying, now the nice thing about these swords is how durable they are. And of course, the YouTube moment of fame happens. The blade breaks, flies up, catches him right here. And he drops behind the table and goes, oh, yeah, that got me good. And it's live, so they have to have some other guy come over, and he starts talking. If you're going to buy a decoration, slamming it on the table is not a big selling point. Okay? If you go to an art museum to buy a really cool picture, and the lady selling you the piece of artwork says, now the nice thing about this painting, wham, is how durable it is. Perhaps you should shop somewhere else. And I highly recommend, if you're going to go buy a firearm, same thing. Don't let them go, now the nice thing about this gun. Okay? But actual Japanese swords are not going to break because you catch it like this. Now, I know the idea, but this is, here we go, stage combat blade. She's going to swing violently at my head because she's trying to kill me. And my job is to cower behind this and go, no, don't do that. Okay, and somehow catch it and lock it and either twist it out of her hand or break the blade. It didn't work very well at all. Now, the concept actually wasn't that bad. So over time, what you saw was the scythe, which was a farm implement, modified. After 1600, when the Tokugawas came into power, no more large-scale pitched battles. So the samurai and their armor and the heavy weaponry didn't have much cause to use them, which meant they had a lot of free time, hence the red light district. Unemployed samurai's best friend. The government needed to be able to patrol the red light district. What they did was they created an entire new class of low-level samurai known as doshin. They're police officers. They weren't high enough status to carry the long sword, but they carried the short sword, the wakizashi, and a 50-inch oak dowel known as a jo. If anybody does Aikido, you know what a jo is. It's a shorter version of the bow staff. And if you train in it beyond the 13-step kata, which is like every Aikido dojo teaches that one, and then not a lot else, there's a lot of twisting and leverage and takedown techniques with a jo that you're wondering, why am I learning this in class? If I have a stick and you don't, I'm going to hit you with it. Okay. These two weapons, the other thing that the doshin carried, sword, which is not a very good arrest weapon because, well, yeah, it's kind of permanent to cut somebody's head. You're misbehaving. Not anymore. That's really not what they wanted to do to keep the samurai under control. So they took the sai and they modified it. They took one of these prongs off and then they thickened this one and shortened it, and they narrowed this gap a little bit until you had a one-pronged tuning fork known as a jite. And this actually had relevance because what you didn't work very well against a well-trained, sober samurai. But when your job is to keep drunk samurai under control, works great because drunken people can't attack as well as sober people. And if you believe that,
Well, what if I know?
well, hopefully you should understand that drunk people aren't as... Anyway, drunk samurai, waving around the sword, being stupid. You don't reach out and go, hey, put that away. Hence the 50-inch stick. Drunk samurai, no, don't do that. Pass it down. And then you take that prong and lock out the blade. Let's not do the side that has my fingers on it. Here, lock the blade in place, and then you use the jo. The come along, the technique where you go behind the arm and up over here, down to the floor, and twist their arm up behind their back so you can take the sword away. The jite was effective for that. Now against somebody sober who's trying to kill you with their level best, and they're doing all those speed draws we talked about last night in the sword class, Flah! And I'm going, no, didn't work very well. Okay? But if Jennifer Garner likes it, I like it too. But not a real effective combat weapon, but as long as we're on the Ninja Turtles.
Michelangelo.
Yep. Let's go with Mikey. Okay, now, these are two sticks connected by... The modern version, we use a short chain because you can do the swivel ball bearings and you can get them moving a lot faster than you can with just a cord. Now, if you're a nunchaku master, and I can always tell because they come up and say, I do nunchucks. Now, nunchucks isn't actually a word. It's kind of a shortened thing. In Japanese, it's nunchaku. In Filipino arts, it's tabato-yoke. But if you're a master, you use these. These are the ones we give my wife. Because as deadly as she is with a sword to her opponent, she'll knock herself out with these. These are the YouTube weapon of choice for stupidity. Okay? True. You spin them around and you're hitting at them and wah! And you always end up hitting your funny bone. And if you do hit your funny bone with these, well, the first thing you learn is that it's not funny. It's misnamed. Okay? But when you watch the videos or you see people using them, it's always in motion because it's really cool to spin them. You catch them here, and a lot of times people don't even understand why they're doing this. The reason why you're holding them like this is because I can release either end. And in combat, you don't know if we're in a fight, if I'm going to hit you over the top, or if I'm going to let go of the top and hit you underneath. So it has the advantage of being very fast. If you throw a punch when they measure speed on things, I think the fastest somebody can move their